Welcome back to WagerTalk TV. I'm Marco D'Angelo, joined in studio with Ralph Michaels. You can follow him on Twitter at CalSportsLV. And, of course, Bryan Leonard, B. Leonard Sports on Twitter. Guys, this is part of the Sports Betting 101 series, and we're going to be talking opening numbers versus closing numbers. I'm going to open with you, Bryan, and you can tell us about opening numbers, what they mean, and how you use them in attack.
Yeah, I guess we talk about this all the time. We've never really talked about it on video before. We just assume most people know about it. But opening numbers are the first numbers to hit the board. If you're betting overnight baseball, for example, it usually comes on about, we live in the Pacific time zone in Las Vegas. So once the games go off at 4 o'clock, normally they put up the games for the next day. Those are what we call opening numbers. If you're looking at college football or the NFL, like halfway through the Sunday card, they put up opening numbers. A couple offshores put those up, and then it's followed by Vegas. Those are what they call opening numbers. Now, the advantage of playing opening numbers is if you're ready with your information ahead of time, you can bet against just a few people, just a few guys betting into the open numbers at 1 or 2 sports books. So if you've got a better line on a game than what they have, you'll say, hey, I'll lay this point spread right now under this key number or whatever, and get the best line possible. And then chances are the other guys that are betting it see the same thing as you do. And as the week goes on, or as the day goes on, when we talk about baseball or basketball, the lines get shaped into a certain form, and that's what you have going into the to the closing lines.
Now, I'm just going to add one thing on the openers for the public so that they understand that generally these sports books, and offshore is where it happens generally first, they do have limits on these games. And so you can't get down the big money. A lot of times when we talk about people will bet numbers instead of betting teams, that is something that goes on with the opening numbers a lot of time. If you feel a line's going to go a certain way, you want to get the best of it early. Problem is you can't get a lot of it early so that you can maybe create yourself a middle later on in the week.
One more thought, and this really isn't an opening number, but it's a week prior number. You know, the Superbook here puts out NFL numbers. And one thing, even if you're not a fan or you follow or make your own numbers, it is important to look at those week prior numbers to see how much of an over-adjustment there was from a team that got blown out or blew out a team, especially on a big nationally televised game. So as you're handicapping a week, look back what the number was 2 weeks ago, seeing if you have any edge this week with that other number as well. So not quite an opener, but an early line, a week prior line.
Which, again, gives us the opportunity to see the overreaction to the public because they're about, what did I just see? And that's what they bet. Now, Ralph, we talked about the openers. There's got to be a closing number. And, you know, that's important when you're going back. And, you know, obviously everybody gets a different number along their way to the week to the closer. But then once we get to the closing line, that's kind of the consensus number that people use in grading the games. But in reality, people got numbers all the way through the course of the week.
You know, Bryan has talked about often, don't chase bad numbers. So somewhere between the opener and the closer, there's a good number and there's a bad number. Now, when you're playing, when you're looking for that number, it doesn't have to be the best number out there because it could be a few people betting a few $100s to change a number. But when a number is established at every casino for a period of time and then the line moves, that's the time we're talking about chasing a bad number. Same thing with the closings. Don't think you have to beat the closing number every time. Obviously, that's your goal because you would think that the sharps are right more than they're wrong. That's the thought process about beating the closing line. But there are many times when you're betting sports that a late Hawaii game, if it gets a lot of action, it's the only game on the board. People are chasing winners. It could move 2 or 3 points, especially a total. College basketball totals can move 2 to 3 points the last hour because there's certain groups betting that game multiple times to move that line. So again, using an opener number isn't the right answer. Using a closing number isn't the right answer. But, you know, I like looking at it, and I actually mark my teams and chart my teams by the number that I feel most people could have bet that game at. And again, that's why you see a discrepancy sometimes in lines. You could have you look up one database and the line could be 147 in the college game. You look at another database, it could be 149. Right. So there is no set, obviously, line with multiple casinos. So use a number that you think is the right number that most people played the game at.
Yeah, you touched on what the opening number is. Usually it's $250, $500, whatever. Let's just use the NFL for an example. As the week goes on, the sports books, when they feel more comfortable about their number, they raise the limit. So you could bet a little bit on Sunday night, Monday, then Tuesday they put it up a little bit, Thursday they put it up, and then on day of the game, the Billy Walters, the guy that worked for the syndicates, they can go in and bet whatever they want in an NFL game. So that's why you see a lot of movement day of the game, because they're taking in $200,000, $300,000 bets on games where early in the week it was $500. But I will say a lot of the guys that had bet early, they are buying back later on looking for the middle. So as you pointed out, the closing line isn't really the number you want. I would say on a daily sport basis, it would be like an hour before the game goes off is what I would say. That's probably the true line.
Right.
But it's different ways to look at it. But the point of the matter is you want to bet the best line possible, whether it's the early line or the late line, get the best number that's available.
Yeah, and those first early lines to help the books. They know they're going to get sharp people coming in and picking the numbers up. That also helps them to readjust their mistakes, and it's worth them taking maybe a loss at a bad number at a smaller risk for them, but to help them get the number where it is. And it's something that, again, with books that throw out winning players, just put them on a limit. Give them a limit, and it's there's going to let them get action, but it's also going to help you in the long run.
Well, the books that throw out winning players aren't letting you bet into the opening line, let it settle on a Monday, and then they say, okay, everything's settled. Now we'll let you put it up.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff, guys. Hey, and don't forget, if you are a member or not a member, you should be, of our text club. Just text WagerTalk to 33222. It's free, guys. You're going to get coupons, free play, special offers. Send it up, WagerTalk, to 33222. We'll be back with more here at WagerTalk TV.